Apa.
But first of all, I'd like to say hi and good morning to everyone. Nice to see you all well and safe. I'd like to say good morning to, of course, Sister Jo and Sister Ging, and of course to Dr. Faith and all the members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to have this conversation with you this morning. Our team is well, the members of the we call ourselves the basic ed team. So it's composed of the two principals, Mrs. Mendoza and Mrs. Otavedas, and of course the academic coordinators, Mrs. Franco, Miss Owen Castro, Miss John Villabert, and we have also invited with us Miss Amurao, who is the preschool coordinator. Of course, Sister Jo and Sister Ging are also our frontliners no in the team. So I don't know, do I continue already or do I proceed with the presentation
Wait lang
or
po, ma'am.
okay.
Thank you very much po.
Okay, thank you.
So, at this point, I'd like to remind everyone that while these are challenging times for the education of our daughters, and while we have felt it ourselves or have empathized with our fellow parents, their anxiety and sense of uncertainty for the future, we are here to dialogue and listen with an open heart and an open mind what each other has to articulate and hopefully arrive at a meeting of minds guided by the Holy Spirit to decide and bring forward actions that are mutually beneficial for all. So I hope that that will be a reminder for all of us. I will now stop my screen share. Um, Dr. Bailey, whoever will be presenting
Yeah.
can now share the screen.
All right. May I say I forgot to mention Sister Alice. I think I saw her a while ago. So I'd like also to say that Sister Alice is part of our team. Okay, so I have with me, this is what we're going to do. I'll first uh, lay down the rationale of why we are doing what we are doing. And my members will be presenting to you what we have been doing, what the preparations that we have been doing, and all the other important information that you parents would like to hear from us. But I'd like to say thank you to Dr. Faith for setting the mood of this conversation, asking each of us to be, you know, to be open and be objective in listening and looking at things, and hopefully we'll be able to arrive at a consensus of and an agreement as to how we can continue to be, education partners, mission partners of your children. So much of what I'm going to present is already found in our primer, but I just would like to present it because this will set the foundation of what we're doing. So we would like to call it our conversations with you, and we have been looking forward to this. So my first slide is really to welcome all of you, and would like to make it clear that we would like to let you know and express to you where we are going from here to the new normal. Very understandably, we know why we have to go there. But I think the more important thing for you is how do we get there? And what do we do when we are already there? And how do we improve on what we would like or what we are going to do? So this is actually the thing that we would like to be presenting to you. Now, hmm, how do we get there? I know that even before we sent out the primer, there have been many questions about how, when do we bring out what we're supposed to do? Why are we quite slow and all that? So maybe I'd like to just present to you this quote from Abraham Lincoln, which says, "Give me 8 hours to chop down a tree, and I will use 6 hours of it sharpening the axe." I think this is the principle that guides all of us, that we would like that when we do present something, when we do prepare something, we'd like to spend more time in the planning, in how we look at the different, perspectives. And then when we are ready, then that is time we bring out to you our plan. So that's why it took us a while before we can really were able to set down to give that question to that plan to you. So we were conscious of the questions and factors that we considered. How ready and capable are we? What about our students, our parents, our families? What distance learning modalities is the school ready to implement? How does a school day look like? How will attendance be monitored? What schedule will the teachers follow? What schedule will the students follow? Who will be the point person on technology, on monitoring and supervision? What learning platform and software solutions will be used? Any other tools? Who will provide the orientation to parents? Who handles the communication? What are the health measures and work policies for employees and teachers? So these are some of the questions that we'll try to look into. And then we also try to also consider what are your fears as parents, because you are our mission partners. Now that we have a different modality, I think you have learned a lot, or you have already searched a lot about what is this distance learning. And so your questions are, your fears are very valid, and we actually look at them as really very important, things to consider. So we say maybe your questions would be something like, what will our children learn? How will she learn? What's the quality of education that she will get? How to guide her? How you're going to prepare? All of these things. So basically what we look into first is how ready are we, and how are we going to implement digital learning in the best way we can. So these are your questions, these are your fears. Some of your questions would probably fall under this. Maybe it's something like, we have been heavily affected financially. Tuition and other fees are our concern. Will there be a reduction of fees? What else can the school do to assist us parents? Then you probably are asking yourselves, you don't have enough gadgets at home for online learning. What about if you have 1 or 2 or 3 kids at home? How can that be possible? There are also probably some who have been articulating or expressing that I have very little trust on distance learning. I am confused, but I still want my daughter to continue schooling. And there are still some naman who have expressed also that we still want to send our children to St. Teresa's. So I just clustered all of them, based on what we have been also hearing from parents. All right, so how is the school preparing? We looked at several areas of concern, and we summarized them in what we call STCQC, Institutional School Operations and Learning Continuity Plan. Other schools will just call it as Learning Continuity Plan. Other schools will call it as Learning Transition Plan. These are all the same thing, but we would like to include, to say that is our institutional, school operations and learning plan. So what have we considered? Yes, number 1 is the school's readiness and capability. These are the things. So as early as April and even as early as March, when we were saying that things are not getting any better, we're already looking at how do we prepare for this. And so naturally, teachers' readiness and capability, as well as the schools, is in the priority list. Then we also look at how are our parents going to take it? How ready are they to embrace this new way of learning for their kids? And how we can strengthen further the homeschool collaboration. We also look at what is our students' readiness and disposition to face this new thing. And what would be our curriculum? How are we going to implement this using the flexible distance learning? Because knowing that this time the modality would be a little different, we were also looking at making sure that the curriculum, the basic, the essential ones are not missed, and that we are able still to deliver quality learning. Then we also tried to look at some policies. We tried to draft some of them. We tried to come up with, the health protocol, and we have asked the help of Dr. Faith in really, writing all of this. We also look at the student services. One basic question that we have always constantly asked ourselves, how do we make these services still relevant and supportive, even if we are in distance learning? And we have tried to identify them, how we can. We have also tried to review our calendar and the school fees, which will be presented later on, adjustment of schedule and other school activities, which is going to be very,